Why, hello and welcome everybody. It is Pohx again. So today in this quick video, I want to go ahead and cover my personal favorite League Stones for the League Legacy, which are, these things right here. And I'm also going to give a little brief summary of what each one does and whatnot. And of course, this is obviously my opinion. I, don't make these graphs and just look everything up. So just as a note. So anyway, let's go ahead and cover each one first, and then I'll go over my personal favorites. Now, before I do state this, I want to let you guys know that there are some really interesting, cool things you can do with these breach stones, if you guys are unfamiliar. So 3 breach stones of the same, I don't know if it's the same quality, I'm guessing the same quality, so like 3 white breach stones that are sold to the vendor actually gives you a random one back.
Glad you made
so
it
for
up.
example, if I were to vendor, you can see I get one back, and this is actually a magic one that still works. Now, note that I do not believe you can have any charges consumed on them for this recipe to actually work. And the last thing that you can do, if you guys want help sorting breach stones, if you were to type in or below on your breach stones, right, it'll actually pull up all of the ones that have level requirements. So for example, all of these ones that are essentially 72 and below, 65 and below, 71, whatever, I personally don't want to run because they're not really applicable for the maps that I'm doing, so they literally don't work. So by doing this, it just makes an easy search for me. I can just pull out the ones and sell them. Yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the video, though. So the first one is going to be the Ambush League Stone. Ambush League Stone is pretty okay. It's not too bad. I personally don't really like it too much. It really only just adds 1 strong box, and in my opinion, 1 strong box is not enough for me to add. Unless you're like Divination card farming on a map, personally don't see much use in it. Now, of course, if this is magic, every League Stone with magic can be very good, so that's one thing to take note of. Anarchy, same thing. I know Rogue Exiles can drop maps, so it's not so bad, but I don't really do much to Anarchy. I know there is an Anarchy League Stone that you can get where Exiles drop fully linked gear. That could be kind of interesting, though. Beyond League Stone, one of my personal favorites. The reason why is it synergizes really well with another one we'll go into here shortly. But Beyond is really cool because magic mobs, rare mobs, bonus XP, drop rates. When I say drop rates, I just mean because it adds so much density to your map. Bloodlines, another really good one of my personal favorites. If you're looking for map return, Bloodlines is really good because it adds magic monsters to your map, which can always drop a +1 map. Breach, number 1 personal favorite. Adds the most density you can get to any map. The rare mobs can actually drop League Stones. Insane money. So lucrative. You can get Chayula Breach Stones. That sells for money. You can get the Esh Breach Stones, which Splinters of Esh sell because people are playing Hand of Wisdom in action. Also, Choir of the Storm, which is the amulet, can drop great money from it. Domination, another pretty good one. Domination adds Shrines, which overall adds density, so it's pretty okay for map returns as well. Essence is something that's kind of like you really have to farm to get your money back, but it's also very good. The reason why is you can find essences that you're able to corrupt, which can then create, the ones, for example, used for glove enchant or for like weapons, which would be called Delirium. And there's 4 of those that you can actually find. And if you look, it should be these 4 right here. And I believe you have to... I'm not going to go over the corrupt because I always keep forgetting which one it is. I think it's these 4. But anyway, you can get like Insanity, Delirium, etc., etc., and those sell for a pretty decent amount. Next up is Invasion. I personally don't ever do it. I know you can get quite a few bosses and you can like duplicate the bosses. I see like these sell quite often, so they definitely have a use. I personally haven't really found it yet. Nemesis is another pretty good one. It adds monster density to your map, by rare mobs. I believe this interacts with breaches too, so it has a nice synergy with that. Also note that in a Nemesis map, you can chance a Headhunter, and you can actually get a Headhunter drop. Granted, it's extremely rare, but it's always a possibility. Onslaught, another personal favorite. This synergizes really well with Breach and Beyond. That's actually my personal favorite, which is Onslaught, Beyond, and Breach. The reason why is the 20% quantity of items synergizes so well with the monster density that Breach adds, and then inside that density, you have the Beyond monster spawning as well. So it just kind of just creates this huge, just orgasm of drops. Parandis is another really good one. Unfortunately, I don't really ever run it. This is mainly just for making money, and you pretty much roll a dice every time, but it's always good because you collect the coins, and Kadiro can pretty much sell you anything he wants. So I would do this if I'm farming with like Essence and something else. But Parend is super good, like I said, because he can pretty much do whatever he wants. Note that you can actually get map drops out of the Parendus boxes, and there is actually kind of like a cartographer Parendus box, which can be ridiculous in its returns. Prophecy, I pretty much never use. It's not really too bad. The only one that I've seen that's kind of okay, there's like, you will find Yama the White, which basically puts like a little monkey on the floor. Kind of looks like Abu from Aladdin, and you talk to him, and he gives you like a prophecy like already sealed and basically drops it on the floor. So I guess that's like super RNG with what you could get. So it's not so bad, but pretty much the silver coin is pretty useless because silver coins are not really worth anything. Rampage kind of goes ahead with clear speed. There's a rarity one associated with it. For every amount of stacks you get increased rarity. So that's pretty cool. Talisman League, I honestly haven't touched Talisman because it's a pain in the ass. So I don't really know too much about this one. But these sell as well. Tempest, I really personally have like a vendetta against Tempest. But there are some okay ones. The Corrupting one, for example, is really good for generating 6 links. And there's, I think, Shining or Radiant. I don't remember too much of what that is. I honestly don't really know much about this League Stone. But I'm not really a big fan of Tempest. It was my most hated league. Torment seems okay. Nothing really too crazy. Just kind of creates a bunch of spirits that, you know, go into the rares or magic mobs. Don't know too much about this one either. And then Warbands. Warbands adds density. People told me they can drop maps. I actually don't know. If somebody could get me a source or just link it in the comments, that would be really cool to go off of. But yeah, Warbands is cool because you can just get a ton of density of Warbands mobs. But I personally have never really found anything off them. So I usually kind of stay away and just leave this one in the corner for, you know, if I'm just trying something else that's a bit, you know, whatever. Now, I want to go over my personal favorite ones that I kind of like slightly went over. But let's check them out again. So, this is what I use for all of my maps. In every single map that I run, I always have Breach on. Breach is my #1 go-to. Breach is #1 for XP. Breach is #1 for, in my opinion, currency. Because you get currency drops and you get actual, like, legitimate drops. Like, I have, just from Breach alone as an example, I have found 376 Chayula splinters. I've already sold quite a few. I found easily over 1,000, probably 1,500 of each of the splinters. I have also found a Red Dream, which is somewhere around 350 to 400 chaos. I found a Skin of the Loyal, and this is not even running the Chayula breaches, the Breach Lord. This is just running the Chayula breaches that come up in my strands. I have a Skin of the Loyal, which I don't know the price yet because this looks like Flame Blast totems. So I have to figure out the price on that as well. But yeah, they've just been so wealthy with their drops. So Breach is my absolute #1 favorite, pretty much in any scenario. So next would be Onslaught, actually. The reason why I like Onslaught is, like I explained before, it is 20% increased quantity of items, and quantity is so busted, which is why it was removed, and then it kind of came back, and now we have a legacy version of it. And quantity just literally increases the amount of drops that they get. So when you think about it, you're kind of like stacking a multiplier almost, because you open up a breach, you get an insane amount of monsters. Those insane amount of monsters have a, 20% increased quantity drop, which then leads me into my next point. Because you have an insane amount of monsters, Beyond synergizes so well with that, so you get at least, one Beyond boss per breach, and all of those monsters that spawn have the 20% extra chance of dropping items. Since it's magic or rare mobs or unique if they're bosses, it just scales up the, the drop rate table. Now this may seem kind of trolly and memey, but I have 30% rarity on my Chayula, and I also have 18% rarity on my helmet, which puts me to 48% rarity. That's not a lot, it's a minor amount, but playing to level 100 on my Blight character who had like 120 rarity, after switching to a build with 0 rarity, in my opinion, there's actually quite a big difference. So if you can get rarity on a couple pieces without really going far out of your way, it really does make a big difference when you have like ridiculous amounts of density and drops. Next up, this is my go-to personal favorite for just XP and mapping. And of course, people will have different combinations. This is just what I like to use. If I want to generate map drops, I replace Beyond with Bloodlines, because Bloodlines adds magic monsters, and magic monsters can drop maps. Beyond monsters cannot drop maps, but they can drop overall just a ton of items, which is why I prefer it, and they're very good XP. The next up, if you do not have Bloodlines, you can support Bloodlines with Domination, because Domination will create a shrine, and those shrines will essentially have monsters surrounded by them, which can drop maps as well. You can also use Nemesis. Nemesis is cool because, like we explained before, you can get a Headhunter drop, you can chance a Headhunter inside there. Next area will contain additional rare monsters. Rare monsters have a chance at dropping maps. On top of rare monsters having a chance at dropping maps, it should increase the amount of density, and again, I could be incorrect, I don't know this 100%, of rare monsters inside breaches. Breach monsters that are rare have a chance of dropping maps and almost guaranteed drop one splinter from at least my personal experience, which just, you know, makes it so much better. And I know it seems a bit silly because like these are only white league stones, but I promise they make a huge difference. So the next 3 that I like to run personally, or 2 I guess for money making, which I don't really run too often, but they would be Parandas and Essence. And this would be like a little separate thing, like if I'm not trying to get map drops, I'm just doing something else, then you just slam your Essence, Parandas, and I would still probably do Breach or something else. Anyway, that's pretty much, like I said, what I did. I just wanted to show you guys because I know I get a couple questions asked, and hopefully this helps you guys out with kind of what you want to do and whatnot. As a quick note to players, please be careful when you're opening breaches if you're playing life-based characters. Chalupa breaches, also known as Chayula breaches, the chaos damage one, can be pretty severe to life-based builds. I really would recommend staying away from spamming these unless you can get to like maybe 0% chaos res / 20% chaos res. If you're playing a CI character, it's totally fine. You know, but still, if you have a presence of Chayula, you're at 0%, you're doing okay. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I really do appreciate it. And remember, you can catch me streaming live every day at twitch.tv/Pohx. Hope you guys have a wonderful time, and I'll see you boys all later.